Hi guys, welcome to the video, and today we're focusing on fuel for electricity. How is that electricity that we need in our homes generated? Well, most power stations work by the same process, and you will need to know that process for your exam. Well, we always start off with a boiler, and that boiler will be full of water. And what happens is we heat up that water to produce steam. The steam can turn a turbine, which is like a massive fan. And as this turbine starts to turn, well, it also turns the electrical generator, which is where we get our electricity from. The electricity is then passed on to the national grid, and it's delivered to our homes, schools and offices. But for your exam, we want to focus on what can we use to heat up this water to turn it into steam. Well, we can use fossil fuels. And fossil fuels are things like coal, oil and gas. These fuels are made from the remains of leftover plants and animals from millions of years ago. We can also use biofuels. Biofuels are fuels that are made from plant or animal matter. For example, ethanol. We can ferment sugarcane to make ethanol. We can also use wood or straw. And we can also use methane. And methane is released from cows or from animal manure. Now, when we combust the methane, burn it, or if we combust ethanol or the wood and straw, when we burn these biofuels, energy is released. And when the energy is released from these fuels, it will heat the water, turn it into steam, which turns a turbine, which will then turn the electrical generator. There are some advantages of us using biofuels, and one of those is that they're renewable. Trouble with coal, oil and gas is that we're running out of them. We're using them at a much quicker rate than what they're being produced. So these fuels are looking more interesting to us as a population. So they're renewable, but they're also carbon neutral. Now that's a key word that you will be required to use in your exams. The word carbon neutral just means that the carbon dioxide the sugarcane or the wood needed to grow in photosynthesis is the same amount of carbon dioxide given out when we burnt it. So the levels of carbon dioxide haven't been affected by biofuels. Another method of heating that water is something called nuclear power. And this basically means releasing energy from the nucleus. But there's only a few nucleus or nuclei that we can use to release energy. And that is uranium or plutonium. And what happens is that these nuclei will split. And as they split, they release massive amounts of energy to heat the water, to turn it into steam, to turn the turbine, to turn the generator. You could also be asked in your exam to think about some of the advantages and disadvantages of fossil fuels. Well, let's just take a look at some of those factors. Well, when we think of this is nuclear and this is fossil fuel. Now, when we compare the two, we want to think about how much energy is released per kilogram. So if I've got a kilogram of uranium or plutonium, or I've got a kilogram of coal, oil and gas, how much energy will I get from that kilogram? Well, for nuclear, we get 1,000,000 kilowatts per hour of electrical energy per kilogram. Whereas for fossil fuels, we only get 100 kilowatt per hour of fossil fuel. So we can see here that a lot more energy comes from nuclear power than fossil fuels. Another issue to think about is the waste. Well, a problem with nuclear is that the waste from nuclear power stations is radioactive. And that just means the waste is constantly emitting radiation. So we have to store this, usually underground or in water, for a long, long time. Whereas for fossil fuels, there is no radioactive waste. But if we think about greenhouse gases, for nuclear power stations, there are no greenhouse gases. And this is because we're not combusting or we're not burning uranium or plutonium. Whereas for fossil fuels, we make carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas produced when we burn fossil fuels. And this can give rise to global warming. So think about these when you're comparing nuclear to fossil fuels. It could be a 6-mark question. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Stay in touch for another video.